Sometimes we don't realize that we are the cap to our leadership. We think it's circumstance, people not listening, but there might be some things that you're doing that is creating a cap on your leadership and a separation between you and the people that you work with. We're going to talk about this today. My name is James, and I'm here to have a conversation with people that are designed to get better. If this video gives you value, this message gives you value, make sure you comment, you like, subscribe, and share it. Share it with people that you know that are on their path in leadership or already have leadership roles. And this is important because these 5 things are absolutely toxic to any organization. Here's the first one.
You actually took time to learn about how incredible you were, nothing would ever stop you.
The first one, you're a people pleaser. Nobody likes you if you're a people pleaser. They may be smiling at you, but they really don't like you. And the reason why they don't like you is because they can't trust you. They can't trust you to say what needs to be said. Let's say you have a task that you're supposed to do, and it's supposed to be due Monday at 5 o'clock. Monday, 5 o'clock rolls around, you didn't do that thing, whatever that thing was. Some people's perspective is to hold your feet to the fire. Hey, you didn't get that done. What's up? But some people's perspective is this. Oh, James, I know you had a tough weekend. You okay? Yeah, just had a lot going on. Okay, I got it. Look, here's what we're going to do. It's okay. It's okay, James. It's okay. We're just going to circle it back, give you another chance. Don't you worry about it, okay? Don't worry about it. I'll take that on. I'll reassign that, okay? Okay. In that moment, you've lost my respect. Why? You didn't hold me accountable. Human beings actually have an innate desire to be held accountable. We do. The teachers you respect the most, the coaches you respect the most are the ones that laid it on you. When something wasn't done the right way or to the best possible level, they let you hear it. Now, their approach may be harsher, their approach may be a little bit softer, but it was never just let it go. They gave you coaching in the moment. Everybody has their own coaching style, but where there's no accountability, there's chaos. And if you're a people pleaser, you are highly uncomfortable with saying what needs to be said because you don't want to create conflict. The only problem is you're creating infinitely more conflict because you're not saying what needs to be said. So people's behavior gets worse, their performance gets worse, and you're like, I don't know what happened. I was really encouraging. I had the everyone gets a trophy mentality. Everyone does not get a trophy. Everyone should not get a trophy. If John did not perform, John shouldn't get a trophy. And for you to come behind John, who's clearly not rising to the occasion and getting done what needs to be done, and you're giving John a trophy, that is not helping John at all. You're showing John that you're a people pleaser. And people pleasers are dangerous in organizations because nobody really knows what's really going on. They don't know. Great leaders don't always have to be loved. It's great if they're loved, but they're respected. People will respect you when they know where you're coming from. Now, you don't have to be a jerk about this. You don't have to be a jerk in holding people accountable. But let me tell you something. Long term, over time, the people pleaser is going to be hated by the organization. Have you ever seen someone that really spoils their kids? Like really spoils their kids. Like they give their kids everything they want, 100% of the time. The word no doesn't exist. Have you ever noticed that sometimes, well, a lot of times these kids grow up to hate their parents because they blame them for the lack of accountability they never had growing up. It's the same thing in an organization. When your team knows that they cannot count on you to hold them accountable because you're so worried about being a people pleaser, they will not respect you. And eventually it goes from not respect to like real disappointment to dislike. Don't be a people pleaser. Here's the second thing. You don't listen. Have you ever had a conversation with someone that couldn't talk fast enough in the small little gap of breath between their next sentence? So you're saying something, blah, blah, blah. You take a breath and they jump in because they have to make their point. They jump in. They got to make their point. My point's the point. Got to get my point across. Point. Look, you may be wrong, completely wrong, but every human being wants to be heard. And what I find is that when you give someone the respect of listening, even if they're wrong, meaning like it's obvious they're wrong, they just appreciate being heard. You may already have in your mind that this is so far off. But you don't have to sit there for 17 hours and listen to a quacky story. It's not what you have to do. But people appreciate someone that's willing to listen and say, look, I appreciate what you said, Mike, but we're not going to be doing that. You see, like, here's what I'm saying, Mike, I get it. I heard you. But we're not going to be doing that. You see, I'm showing you that I was willing to listen to what you said, but we're also not going to be doing that. That's okay. What Mike doesn't want to experience is Mike is trying to talk to you and you've totally shut him down. That's what Mike does not want to experience. You see, people are willing to go to other companies, other teams, other organizations just to be heard. Just to be heard. Like, people are willing to take pay cuts, lose titles, just to be heard. So if people know, they don't necessarily need you to agree. By the way, if you're the kind of person, side note, this wasn't even part of my message, but if you're the kind of person where you're always right, you're dangerous. You're dangerous. You're probably one of the most dangerous people, because you won't take other people's perspectives and you can't listen. I know somebody right now. They just literally functionally don't have the ability to listen to another side. Anything that is contrary to what they have to say is wrong. They just can't even hear it. And they're wondering why they aren't moving faster in their positions. It's because people who are leaders know what it takes to be one. And when you're the type of person that can't listen to other people, that is a huge character flaw. That will affect your ability to be promoted. That will affect your ability to recruit. That will affect your ability to lead. That will affect your ability to develop teams. All of that. People need to feel like their voice matters. Even if there's not an agreement, they need to feel like their voice matters. This is so big. Lack of acknowledgement. Here's the third one. Lack of acknowledgement. You know, Napoleon said something very powerful. He said, give me enough medals, I can win any battle. Why did he say that? Well, it's very simple. Napoleon understood that at a deep core, that we want to be acknowledged. I mean, think about it. When you were a kid and they were going through all of the best kids in school for this or that, weren't you always listening for your name? Weren't you always listening for your name? You were always listening for your name as a kid. People's desire to be acknowledged is more than their desire to even make money. And this may sound crazy to you. I've been around people who are epically wealthy. They didn't even know what to do with the money. And they got a recognition. Maybe it was they were this, or they were honored by this society. And the way they just lit up like a Christmas tree. Why? Because at a basic, functional, genetic level, we love to be acknowledged. If you're the type of person that cannot acknowledge when someone does something great, and it's obvious, like everyone realizes that it's great, but for seemingly you're the only one who doesn't want to admit it because I don't want them to get a big head. Okay, well, guess what? You won't have to worry about them having a big head for very long, because they won't be around you very long. They're going to eventually find someone that will acknowledge them. By the way, same thing happens in relationships. When you can't acknowledge your partner, when you only see what's wrong in your partner. Like, I remember having this conversation about with a friend of mine from college. He's talking about this dinner he made. And this is when he knew he was gonna break up with this girl. All right, he made this dinner, and he went to the grocery store, got the little books, the little cooking books, read the book. Did those things ever go right? Those things don't go right, but he did it anyway. Read the cooking book, made the dinner, all excited, put the ingredients, and the chicken came out a little bit dry. Just a little bit dry, not overly dry, just a little bit dry, and he knew it was dry. So he's sitting there eating it, and he feels whack because he took the time to make this meal. It's not perfect, and the chicken's dry. And here's what she says: "Oh my gosh, this is so great. The chicken's a little dry, though." That was her acknowledgement for him. Forget the fact that you went to the store, used your money, bought the food, cooked the meal. Everything else that he made was great. Chicken a little bit dry. He's already a little insecure about it. And instead of being like, "Oh my gosh, this is so great," she points out the chicken was dry. Now, hey, I guess she was honest about it, but he got rid of her so fast. You see, people want to be praised. It's a human nature thing. People want to be praised. And if you only acknowledge when something is wrong, that's terrible. So I shouldn't just say lack of acknowledgement. I should say lack of positive acknowledgement. If you're going to point out to me when something's not right, and if I get better at it, then I want you to also point out to me when something is right and I get better at it. Like, don't be one of those people that you can overinflate when something's bad, but somehow you disappear when something gets better. Don't be that way. Don't be that person. Make sure you positively acknowledge the people that you're working with. And if something's not right, then you make it happen, you communicate it. Here's the fourth thing: superiority posture. Oh, man. So I had this guy named Frank I used to work for, and this guy was something else. I'll just say this. This guy was brash, he was loud, and because he had my paycheck, he just talked to us crazy. He would always come to me just swaggering around like, yeah, I'm Frank, and da-da-da-da-da. He sounded like he grew up watching Goodfellas, and he wanted to be that guy. So he's like, hey, I'm Frank. You need to do it this way. Hey, I'm sitting there like, what's he doing? He's a manager in pharmaceutical sales. What's he doing? But he had the superiority posture. His whole thing was he would talk down to you. He was condescending to you. His energy was just like always like, I'm above you because I'm your manager. And he was such a motivator for me to end up leaving and working for myself. Matter of fact, the last person that I worked for in that industry was Frank, and I was motivated because I said, I will never have somebody talk to me crazy like this. There's nothing worse than someone who gets a title and becomes entitled. Oh God, I can't take it. People get up there, they get a little thing on their little nameplate, and all of a sudden they're it, and they communicate with you like you're not it, forgetting that at one point you were sharing the same positions. You were in the same place. You want to take care of your family. You want to provide for your family. Superiority posture is not the way to be. Superiority posture, you'll find that the greatest leaders are the ones that get in there with their people. There's so many stories of people that have gotten in there with their business partners, with their employees, with their team members, to get in order to make the thing go. They don't want to come across like they're holier than thou. They want it like, this is us. We're doing this. Yes, I have the title, but we're doing this together. Not I'm better than you because I have this title. I make more money than you. And what you don't realize with that is that people have already quit on you. They just haven't left the building yet. That's all it is. Their resume is already somewhere else. Their next opportunity, they're already looking at the other thing. They're just nodding at you until they get the next opportunity. Then they're out. And you'll be like, I don't know what happened. Well, what happened is that you were a jerk. That's what happened. And people don't want to be around jerks. They want to be around people that make them feel better, which brings me to my last point, which is you're not growing people. Where there is lack of growth. Look, think about it like this. Imagine that you have a plant. I know somebody that has a plant, and man, this person can't grow the plant. The plant doesn't grow. So I want you to imagine that you have this plant that's supposed to grow. You're doing everything and it's not growing. Well, then there's probably something wrong with the plant. But if you have a whole bunch of plants and none of those plants are growing, well, then you have to look at what you're doing with those plants. When people around you aren't growing, when you're not growing people, it doesn't matter how much money you're paying them, eventually they have checked out. It doesn't matter what their titles are, they are checking out. People need to be challenged. They need a little bit of pressure on them. Like maybe you have Susie and Susie's used to this and this and this, but you say, you know what, Susie has this potential. I could see her in this role. And yes, it requires Susie to learn. Maybe Susie's afraid of public speaking and she's got to do that in that new role. But you know what? The challenge of it that builds their self-esteem, everybody wants to be around someone that builds their self-esteem. And the way to build another person's self-esteem is to challenge them to do something that's growth-oriented. Not just keeping them in their comfort zone, taking them to the next level outside of their comfort zone. You see, because if you do that with people, people are going to be attracted to you. They're going to want to be around someone that helps them get better. But if you're saying, okay, again, to go back to the superiority complex person, when your posture is that you're better than, no one will ever be as good as you. And so you'll always interact with people like you're better. Let me help you out. We all fall short from the glory of God. So even if you're a little bit taller, a little bit prettier, have a higher IQ, you're still a failure. You're still a failure. Why? Because there's someone smarter than you, prettier than you, taller than you, better than you. There's a better version of you somewhere else. And so if you relate to the people around you and you relate to them like you're superior, well, then you're going to have a bunch of people rebel. But if your focus is to help people around you get better, to grow them, to show them that they have more inside of them than they realize, human beings are capable of unbelievable things, but most people are capped in environments that do not allow for them to express it. They have people in leadership roles that don't see it. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. Every single day I see it, where you have someone that has great potential and they fall under the leadership of an arrogant leader. They fall under the leadership of someone who doesn't listen, doesn't acknowledge, or they're a people-pleasing leader, and I see that person just kind of wither. They just kind of wither. But when you're around people and you're dedicated to growing people, lifting people, man, unbelievable things can happen for you and your team. So those are 5 things that if you're doing is definitely hurting your leadership and it's hurting the people around you. All you're doing is motivating them out your door. That's all you're doing. But now that you've identified these 5 things, here's a question. If any of those 5 things relate to you, what's the action you need to take? The total opposite. It doesn't need to be like a long-term plan. You don't need to go to a consultant and no, you need to say, okay, I'm doing I need to get my stuff together. I need to lead. Because leadership is an honor. It's an honor when people are under your charge. It's an honor, but that honor has to be honored. We all have to get better. If you're one of the people, and God forbid you have all 5, oh my Lord, I can't even imagine that. No, you can't be a people pleaser and arrogant at the same time. That'd be a little weird. But if you have multiple, it's an opportunity for you to address it, change it, and watch what happens to the people around you. Last quick story. There's someone that I know that's done so many amazing things. This person's awesome. They're amazing in their job. But where they fall short is they don't make the people around them better. And they couldn't understand why so many people are quitting. That's it. Get better.
I actually took time to learn about how incredible you were. Nothing would ever stop you. See, the definition of sight is the faculty or power of seeing.